And you remember when we left, we had a couple of questions. Water, or bay of water. And down underneath, we had a block of wood. And of course, there was a certain buoyant force pushing up on the block of wood. And then if we brought the block down deeper, suppose we brought it down to here. When we got it down here, what would happen when we got it down to this new position? Would it be more buoyant or less buoyant? Or maybe it would have the same buoyancy. Of course, a lot of people will think that it will have more buoyancy down there because there's more pressure down there, and they just feel that the deeper you go, the more buoyant it is. Let's see how that works. Let's make some numbers. And I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This represents the increasing pressure as you go down in the ocean. Now you'll ask, what, 7 what? 7 something. Because you don't have to worry about that to understand the principle of this. Now, let's put the block right here where the 2 was. I erased the 2 and I put the block here. Well, how many pounds are pushing up on the bottom? 3 pounds pushing up on the bottom. How many pounds are pushing down on the top? 1 pound is pushing down on the top. Well, if you have 3 pounds pushing up and 1 pound pushing down, what's the net force? Well, the net force is 2 pounds pushing up. Now, let's take the block away from there. The 2 is back here again. And let's insert the block deep down in the water down here. What's the pressure pushing on the top, trying to push it down here? Well, here it's 4 is pushing it down. What's pushing it up? 6 is pushing it up. Well, if you have 4 pushing you down and 6 pushing you up, what's the balance? The balance is 4 minus 6 equals 2, with more force pushing you up. So still down here, the upward force is still 2 pounds. So you see, it doesn't matter. When we went down from here, it was up 2 pounds. When the block was here, the upward force was also 2 pounds. And no matter how far down we go, the buoyant force will stay the same. It will always be 2 pounds. Now, you have to be a little bit careful because here's where the theoretical mixes with the practical. Supposing this were not a block of wood. See, I was very careful at the beginning to say we're going to use a block of wood, and I said it's a solid block of wood. But suppose we had a little balloon here. That'd be a certain force of buoyancy on that there, too. And if I put the balloon down here, of course, the force of buoyancy on the balloon when I got it down here would be the same. Remember, in fact, you know the rule. The rule is in this case, as well, there's a pressure on the top, pressure on the bottom. It's equal to the water. The buoyancy is the water that would have filled the balloon minus the weight of what's ever in the balloon. Maybe nothing's in the balloon, so then the pushing up is just the weight of the water that would fill the balloon. But now comes the practical point. When you get a balloon down here, will the balloon be the same size that it was up here? No. You're down deeper in the drink, and a balloon, a thing like a balloon, will actually be smaller. And so there's less water that would go inside of it. It has less square inches on its top, less square inches on its bottom, so there's less force to work on it. And what actually happens is the thing, instead of becoming more buoyant, if it has less surface, it interacts less with the water, and it's less buoyant. And maybe the buoyancy down here would only be 1. It would be less than the buoyancy up there. So things that lose volume because they crush actually lose buoyancy as they go down deeper into the water. And that even works for submarines. As hard as they are, you know that submarines are slightly flexible. And indeed, if they do slightly reduce their volume, they become less buoyant as they go down deeper in the water. In the battleship, I want to actually show you how the pressure gets down to the bottom of the battleship. Here's the side of the bathtub. It goes down underneath. And here's the side of the battleship. And it curves down here and curves down underneath. And of course, the tub is filled with water. But all this region down here beneath this line is filled with water. What happens? How does the pressure get underneath? Well, first of all, let's imagine just a little thin tube of water. And this tube of water has weight, and it presses down. It presses down here to this place here, and there's some water there. Now, if they keep pressing down, you'll run into the side of the bathtub. So here, the pressure has to go sideways. But remember, I showed you very carefully that pressure pushes in all directions. So if I say the pressure is pushing down here and then it goes sideways here, there's no harm in that. I don't lose any pressure by making a sideways step. And now, here I run into the battleship, so I can't go any further, so there's a molecule right here near the surface, and here I have to make the pressure press down again. But I don't lose anything by doing that, because remember, pressure pushes in all directions, and I can stagger around any direction I want. Now, when I come down here, I not only have all my pressure that I had up here, I not only have all the pressure, I even have more, because as I come down, I get the pressure that's on top of me, plus I get the weight of this column of water. Remember we had a column of water here? I had a weight of column water here. Now on these sideways steps, do I increase my pressure? No, because the pressure pushes, the weight of the water, there's water here, but the weight of this water is pressing down here. So I just keep the pressure here over to here. I don't increase my pressure. When I get over to the left, I have everything I had on the right-hand side. I don't lose anything, but I don't gain anything. But on my downward steps, I do gain, I have everything I had on top, plus I gain the weight of that column. I have even more pressure. And little by little, I can work my way down. The pressure goes this way, and then the pressure goes this way. And finally, the pressure gets under the ship, comes over to here. Maybe it even goes over to here. And then when I'm under here, I have all my pressure, and I can use it to push up underneath the ship. And there it is. Of course, when it comes up, you lose a little bit by coming up, but not much. Okay, and that's how the pressure works its way down. Who knows what path it takes? There's a million different paths stepping down that it could take, and they all amount to the same thing, because all the downward trips add up to the same thing, regardless of which path you take downward. You might still say, well, this is some sort of a balance. Let me, again, clean this out. And here's this big, heavy ship. I'm shading this time in the ship. And there's a problem here that's worth appreciating. I'm not going to give the answer to it now, but you should appreciate that there's a sort of a mental problem still here. And it's the same problem in a way that we started with. What does this ship weigh? Well, I don't know what this ship weighs, but it's something with a lot of zeros, huh? What does this water weigh? Well, we know the water doesn't weigh anywhere near as much as the battleship. How many zeros can we fit in here? Let's say 10 something, whatever unit they want to be in vogue. Now let's think, there's sort of a balance here. What do I mean by a balance? If the ship were to come down a little bit, then the water would go up. Isn't that right? The water would have to go up if the ship came down. And if the ship went up, then the water level would have to come down. So in a very real way, this water here, this tiny bit of water, this 10 pounds of water, is balancing 1,000,000 pounds of ship. And you can see it because when one goes up, the other goes down. And when the other ship goes down, the water goes up. It just doesn't seem reasonable that 10 pounds of water should be able to balance 1,000,000 pounds of ship. Of course it does. How can it do that? I'll show it to you in another way. Here, imagine a tube like this. And let's pretend this is a pipe. This is a big fat tube or pipe or tank, and it comes down. Here's a skinny tube, tank, or pipe. They're connected at the bottom. They're freely connected at the bottom. And I'm going to put some water in them. In fact, if I fill this one up with water to here, some of the water will go around and it will come up to the same level over here. We all know that the levels will be the same on both sides. And we also know that these things balance each other, because we know if this comes down a little bit, this is going to come up a little bit. And if this comes down a little bit, the level over here is going to come down a little bit. And of course, things will be hunky-dory when they're at the same level. When it just balances, everything will be fine. We know this is true. And yet, it's again a mystery in a way, because over here, honestly, we have an enormous amount of water. Maybe here we have 1,000,000 gallons of water in this thing. And over here, maybe we only have 10 gallons of water. And somehow, this 10 gallons of water is balancing the 1,000,000 gallons of water. It's something to really think about. It's an amazing thing. As I say, I'm not going to answer it right now. I'll answer it a few lectures from now in a slightly different context. You'll see the answer. And right now, you're going to begin appreciating the problem, I hope. Okay.